The Israeli-Palestinian conflict continues to rage on, seemingly without end. But according to the Middle East Forum, a nonprofit working to protect so-called Western values, it doesn't have to continue forever. There just needs to be a shift in policy. Here now in the studio with more is Director of the Middle East Forum, Gregg Roman. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me today.
So first of all, what is this shift in policy that you're talking about?
So it's actually going back to a way that Israel fought before the Akamat Medina, before the start of the state, up until about 1967, 1973. Israel's policy was always to bring the war to the front of the enemy, to not let it be fought on Israeli territory. Okay. But with something that we call the Israel Victory Project, we're positing that instead of going with the Oslo paradigm for the past 25 years, it's not really working out so well. We have to move towards having the Palestinians recognize that they were defeated. And we can define that if you want to get into it, but in basic principle terms, Israel can't declare victory and the conflict's over. The Palestinians have to recognize that they lost in their war goals.
So how different is this from other peace deals? And what room does this really put for any sort of Palestinian rights and their desires in the deal?
So we often, as policymakers, find us discussing the end of the conflict before we decide how to get there. So this isn't something where we're saying it's 1 state, 2 states, 3 states, 8 states. This is a way to bring yourselves to the position where you can start negotiating rather than getting to the previous rounds of negotiations where the Palestinians were expected to give up on something but ended up saying no and getting rewarded, where Israeli said yes, ended up getting penalized.
Okay, so how would you incentivize Palestinian involvement in negotiation in this kind of deal, or would they even be involved?
I don't want to incentivize them. What I want to do is actually bring, instead of the carrot and the stick, more stick and less carrot. And in doing so, if you just want to kind of go back to the way we looked at other wars, when most conflicts come to an end, whether it be the Israeli-Palestinian conflict or any other conflict in the history of warfare for the past 2,000 years, usually it's when one side realizes it can't realize its war goals. In this case, the Palestinians can't push the Jews into the sea. They can't deny the existence of a Jewish state living side by side with them. And in the end, if they say, okay, we accept the idea of a Jewish state, they can develop their own polity, culture, society, economy that's not based on rejecting Israel, but accepting their own self-determination to live where they want to be rather than where we live.
I see. All right. And so who are you lobbying this project to?
So there's 2 caucuses. One, the Congressional Israel Victory Caucus, 33 members of Congress, Democrats and Republicans that push legislation in the U.S., and then 26 members of Knesset from every Zionist party. So from the left to the right, except for Meretz and the United Arab List, there is gross agreement on this, or violent agreement on the idea that before negotiations begin, the Palestinians have to condition themselves to accept a Jewish state of Israel.
All right. Well, Greg, I think that you've given us a lot to think about. And, we'll see if the Trump administration takes any of your advice from the Victory Project.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming in.